Welcome to Sportsball Roundup. Now here's your hosts, Devin and Reese.
Yes, welcome to Sportsball Roundup. I am Devin. Joining me is my co-host, Reese. And Reese, we've had a lot happen in the world of sports across all of the ongoing sports. And we'll get to all of that. But first, I kind of want to touch on, the FIBA World Cup. The semifinals were on Friday and the finals were on Sunday. And in the semifinals, Serbia advanced past Canada, and Germany upset the U.S. 113-111, and which makes the U.S.'s second straight FIBA World Cup that the U.S. has failed to reach the final. And Reese, that's kind of surprising, with what has happened, what happens in the Olympics. And so, I guess what is your takeaway about the semifinals anyway?
It definitely was a good game. I watched some of it. But over the past couple of years, the U.S. team hasn't really brought their A team to international tournaments or matches, but that's not really an excuse because they're still professional athletes, and other teams have professional athletes too. So that's not an excuse. They just did not play well. But hint, maybe some big names are gonna form for the U.S. at the Paris Olympics in 2024. We'll have to wait and see on that.
We will, and I also want to bring up something. The third place matchup was Canada and the U.S., and Canada beat the U.S. 127-118 in OT to take home the third place trophy. And Canada is an up and comer in, I would like to say, most international sports. They obviously are very well established in hockey, but now that has started to branch out into other sports, and Canada's becoming a great contender on the world stage in multiple sports. Soccer, they're starting to find their own and be competitive. And now basketball, you see here with, them winning third place over their southern neighbor in the U.S. So, Canada is not a country to be taken lightly now, unlike, years past. And so I think that's kind of surprising. What do you think, Reese?
Yeah, I think they've always been, I don't know, good isn't the word, but sustainable. If you've given them opportunities, they've always been able to take advantage of them no matter what sport it is. Now I just think the Canadian players that they've brought up, it's time for Canada to take the next step and be a global, I wouldn't say powerhouse, but the next step in that phase, I guess.
Yeah, a global contender, I would say.
There you go. Yeah.
So, and the World Cup final had Germany and Serbia, with Germany taking home the title, beating Serbia 83-77, and it is the first World Cup title for Germany and first World Cup final appearance. So they are 1-for-1 in World Cup finals.
100%.
100%. You can't really get better than that. And all the congratulations go to Germany, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in Paris next year. Speaking of teams qualifying for the Olympics, South Sudan, Canada, the U.S., Japan, obviously Germany and Serbia, Australia, and France all have qualified for the Olympics next summer. And I am so excited for Olympics. I always am. I like the Winter Olympics slightly better, but the Summer Olympics are also very entertaining. Because they got like basketball. For me, it's basketball and like skateboarding, and I like some of the the field events of track and field. And so I will be excited to see what happens at the Olympics next year. Moving on to major leagues, we've got the race for the hunt for October is heating up. In the American League, the East has the Orioles still on top, followed by the Rays, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees. The Central Division has the Twins on top, followed by the Guardians and Tigers. The White Sox and Royals round out the bottom of the AL Central and have both been eliminated. The West has the Astros, Rangers, Mariners, Angels, and taking the bottom spot and being eliminated from playoffs are the Oakland Athletics. In the National League, in the East, the Braves have clinched the first spot in the 2023 MLB postseason. The Phillies are in second place, followed by the Marlins, Mets, and Nationals. In the Central Division, the Brewers are on top, followed by, closely, may I add, by the Cubs. And then the Reds are in third, followed by the Pirates and the Cardinals. And in the West, the Dodgers are on top, followed by the Diamondbacks, the Giants, the Padres, and the first team to be eliminated from the National League playoff contention is the Rockies. And so I want to kind of go through the wild card scenarios right now. In the National League, the Phillies have the first wild card spot at plus 3.5 games, followed by the Cubs at plus 2 games, and the Diamondbacks are the last team right now. And on the outside looking in, you got the Marlins and Giants at 1.5 games back. The Reds are at 2 games back. The Padres are still technically in at 8, and so are the Pirates at 9.5. The American League wild card has the Rays at 9 games up in the first wild card spot. The Rangers move into second place. The Mariners are tied with the Blue Jays. Is that correct, Reese?
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
So they're fighting for the third and final wild card spot. The Red Sox are kind of, it could make a run, but are still kind of on the outside at 6 games. The Yankees are at 8 games back, and the Guardians are at 12 games back. So, Reese, not really a whole lot of change happening. We are on the home stretch of, the regular season of the 2023 MLB season. And honestly, really the only 2 divisions that are even, close. Well, I guess there's 3 divisions that are close that could kind of flip spots would be the Cubs and Brewers. They could switch. The Astros and Rangers are pretty close. The Mariners are also really close. We'll have to keep tabs on the AL West because I'm pretty sure that 1 and at least 1 and 2 will go, division winner and second wild card spot. And the East has, the Orioles and then the Rays are just right there too. So those will all be interesting, divisions to watch down the stretch. Honestly, the only two divisions that are, really far out, are the NL East with, the Braves already clinching, and, the NL West with the Diamondbacks at 12 games back. The Central Division's kind of in the American League is kind of getting there, with the Twins, and the Guardians 7.5 games back. That's a little bit of a mountain to climb, but, it's still interesting baseball coming down the stretch. What are your thoughts about it, Reese?
Yeah, it should definitely be an interesting couple weeks to end the season. Obviously, as a Cubs fan, my focus is on the NL Central wild card, but as you stated, there's some other interesting races going on in other divisions, especially that AL West. Astros, Rangers, Mariners, and one of those teams could end up winning that division. The Orioles continue to lead the East only by 3 games, but they really haven't dropped a game to the Rays at all. So I don't see the Orioles giving it away to Tampa Bay. I think they'll win that division. But where the fun's at is in the National League wild card race. That's where the fun's at, because you just have teams moving up and down, left and right. The Phillies lead the wild card at 3.5, and that's not by much. And the Cubs just dropped a 4-game series to the Diamondbacks at Wrigley Field. They lost 3 out of 4, and that's why the Diamondbacks have climbed back into the race. But the Marlins, Giants, Reds, all still in the race, and that's what makes September baseball so fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And this time of year and the postseason is what people, if nothing else, people should really start paying attention to in the major leagues, because a lot of great baseball is played at this time of year. And now moving on to the world of college football, we had a lot of good games happening. Iowa defeated in-state rival Iowa State 20-13 to win the football Cy-Hawk Trophy. And as we mentioned last week, Iowa and Iowa State play a Cy-Hawk series, which spans all sports, and the Cy-Hawk title is only awarded after the academic school year, and all the sports have played. But football is the main focus, and the way the Cy-Hawk series works is that every Cy-Hawk game gets a point. For the Cy-Hawk series, the winner gets a point, with the exception of football. Football, the winner gets 3 points added. So, Iowa goes up, 3 points, adds 3 points to their total with the win over Iowa State in college football 20-13. And Reese, I was pretty much correct with my bet. I mean, I didn't win, but my formula and my thinking was, honestly, I feel like it's still correct. The scoreboard says 20-13, and I bet Iowa State plus 3.5. because going into that game, I thought that it would come. I thought Iowa would win, and I thought it would come down to a field goal that would, decide it. And so I took Iowa State plus the points because a field goal is less than 3.5, and so I would have won. And the formula was correct for the most part. The only difference, and the reason why it was 20-13, in my opinion, was that one Iowa State mistake of that pick six. Because the rest of the game played out exactly like I thought. And if that wouldn't have happened, that pick six would not have happened. It'd have been 13-13, and then Iowa somehow does that, last second field goal thing to win the game. That is exactly what would have happened had it not been for that one crucial Iowa State pick six. And what did you think? Do you think I'm right on this, Reese? Do you think that that's what would have happened?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Like, these games typically are low scoring, barring a few, but it was definitely not impressive on either side. You could understand it from Iowa State throwing two first year quarterbacks, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on that, but after losing their starter in the gambling scandal, they're kind of in a rebuilding year, I would think. But no excuses for Iowa. They know what they need to do. They just didn't execute it, and they haven't executed their game plan, in my eyes, the first two games of the season. Like, 20-13, not impressive. I get these games are typically low scoring, but when you have a good quarterback and some good receivers, you just got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that it was necessarily the best showing for Iowa. Now, they did impress me, a little bit more with their defense. Their defensive play improved from last week or 2 weeks ago to last Saturday. It did improve, and they got more oppressive. As a defense, not letting Iowa State do whatever they wanted to do, and which was refreshing. I still think the offense has, like you said, I still think the offense has a little ways to go. Before Big Ten conference play starts, and so we'll see. They host Western Michigan this weekend, and so we'll see. We'll see what the product on the field is, and how the offense develops from the Iowa State game to this week, and moving on a little bit, Colorado, probably one of the biggest stories in college sports right now. Is Colorado with first time head coach Deion Sanders at the helm. They're now 2-0, Reese. With big wins. With, I guess, name brand wins. TCU was a big win. Nebraska, not so much, but it's still a name brand team that they beat. 36-14. That's a pretty sizable win. And honestly, dude, I think Colorado is an up-and-coming team. And Deion Sanders has, in my mind, taken, the college football world by storm. And I love it. I want to see, shakeups like this because it just makes the sport interesting.
Yeah, especially his son at quarterback. Now 2 games into the season, he's got over 900 yards of passing. And that's just insane. That's just insane to look at, stats-wise, and just game wise.
It is very impressive to see that, and we'll have to see, what Colorado is capable of the rest of the season. But moving on, Miami beats Texas A&M 48-33. Ole Miss defeats Tulane 37-20. Oregon defeats Texas Tech 38-30. Texas upset Alabama 34-24. And Washington State beats Wisconsin 31-22. And of those games that I just went through, I think the Texas-Alabama game is probably the most significant, for not only the fact that, it shows you that Alabama and the SEC is beatable, it also shows you that Texas may not be as much of a laughingstock in, going into the SEC next year as people would have thought. And Texas is maybe, a more legitimate ad in the SEC than people in the SEC would like to realize. So with that being said, Reese, what are your thoughts? You think I'm crazy, or do you think I'm onto something with that statement?
I think you're I think you're not crazy, but I mean Texas is hard to judge. So I want to say they're always going to be decent, but I don't think they'll always be decent. Obviously, this year they're going to be above decent. Obviously, starting out beating Alabama, you're going to have a good season. But to always be on that top level, I don't think so for Texas. So, I mean, they're going to have some down years in the SEC as some teams would. But they should be in the mid to upper tier in the SEC once they join. It's not going to be a pushover, that's for sure.
Yeah, I look forward to that, and we will I have to see. We'll look forward to 2024 and all of the conference shakeups happening throughout college sports. Looking ahead a little bit to week 3 matchups, the top games that have been highlighted. Iowa State is at Ohio this week. Like I said before, Western Michigan comes to Kinnick and faces Iowa. LSU goes to Mississippi State. Michigan State hosts number 8 Washington. And Florida plays host to number 9 Tennessee. BYU heads to Arkansas. Colorado State play. Colorado plays hosts. And you said that one's College Game Day?
Yeah, College Game Day gonna be in Colorado.
That'll be fun to watch. I do enjoy the energy that College Game Day brings. So I'll probably be keeping a little bit of tabs on that.
Do you think Dion makes an appearance?
Briefly. I mean, he's still got a game to prepare for, so if he does appear, it'll be briefly, but I think it'll make an appearance. And rounding out the top games to watch, TCU is at Houston. So we'll have to keep you guys updated on what happens in week 3. But moving on, I'm going to give you the rundown of the top 25, Reese, and you tell me if you disagree with any of these spots.
Okay.
So we got Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, Florida State moves up 2 spots to take the number 3 spot. Texas rockets up 6 spots to take number 4. USC moves up 1 to take number 5. Ohio State moves down 2 and is at number 6. Penn State is still at 7. Washington still at 8. Notre Dame moves up 2 to take number 9. And Alabama falls all the way from 3 to 10, moving down 7 spots. Tennessee moves down 2 to spot 11. Utah is still at 12. Oregon still at 13. LSU still at 14. Kansas State still at 15. Oregon State moves up 2 to take the 16th spot. Ole Miss moves up 3 to take the 17th spot. Colorado rockets 7 spots from number 22 to number 18. Oklahoma moves down 2 to take the 19th spot. North Carolina moves down 4 to take spot 20. Duke moves up 3 to take spot 21. Miami is the 22nd spot. The 23rd spot is Washington State. 24th spot UCLA, and the 25th spot is Iowa again. So 22, 23, 24, and 25 are made up of previously unranked teams. And I think I do like the fact that Iowa's back in the top 25, not only because I'm an Iowa fan, but because, it was Iowa State, and, Iowa State did have a solid showing week 1, so I think that's correct. Is there anything you disagree with in this top 25?
All of it seems pretty reasonable for week 2 in the season. Not a lot of teams have even started conference play, so it's hard to judge where every team should be. So it seems pretty reasonable. I like Texas moved up to the top 4 after Alabama. That's a big win for Texas. Other than that, it seems pretty reasonable at this point in the year. It's only week 2, so we have a whole long way to go. So yeah, it looks pretty decent, and it'll definitely change as we go along.
Yeah, we will have to just continue to monitor the situation, and we'll bring you updates week after week. Moving on to the NFL, week 1 was crazy, Reese. Absolute insanity. I mean, I couldn't tell you the amount of times I was just left scratching my head and trying to figure out this season.
Yeah, I think everybody was feeling every one of the emotions. Yes. Everyone in week 1.
Yes. It was insane. I'm going to run through these scores and results before we talk about them, because there is just so much to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
So, starting off the week.
What a week was 1.
Oh my gosh. Starting off week 1 was the Lions going to the Super Bowl defending Chiefs and spoiling their Super Bowl banner unveiling by, guess what? Beating them.
What a way to say that.
What a way to start the 2023-2024 NFL season with a week 1 loss by Kansas City via the Lions. Who would have thought that Kansas City week 1 loses?
Watch out for the Lions.
The Lions, serious. They are. They looked great too. They look absolutely stellar, and I just can't imagine, the Lions not, at this point, I can't imagine the Lions not being a contender.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They won, they beat the Chiefs by, a point, 21-20, but my goodness, that game had it all, and that was just the first game. We've got an entire slate of games to run through.
And if you watched that Thursday night game, the Lions Chiefs, thinking to yourself, there's not another game on the week 1 schedule that's gonna top that. Well, there's been a couple.
There has been all of them. I mean,
say all of them.
Most all of them. Most all of them.
My team got crushed. I'll say that.
I feel like that's even a surprise. I didn't think that it would be that bad.
Yeah, that bad. I like that. That bad, yeah.
Me
too. Me too.
Right.
Me
well,
too.
We got to talk about it. The 49ers beat the Steelers 30-7. Brock Purdy had an absolute showing. 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 19 for 29. And man,
And as a Steelers fan, I can't even be mad. I'm from Iowa. I watched him play at Iowa State. He was good at Iowa State. He's good with the 49ers. He's Mr. Irrelevant starting for the 49ers. He beat out their top draft pick for the job. Made the 49ers trade their top draft pick away because he was way better than he was. Like, how can I be mad at that if he beat my team by 23 points? Like, I can't be mad at that.
You know what? You're right. That was a good showing, and I Brock Purdy, dude, he's a good quarterback. You can't say he's not.
I know.
It's just, who would have thought?
It was just horrible that he got injured in the playoffs last season. That was just the worst.
I thought that once the 49ers got to the playoffs last year, I honestly thought they could go all the way. And the only thing they could have, the only thing stopping them was the fact that Brock Purdy got hurt.
Yeah. And like everybody was surprised. Everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. The last pick in the draft is leading your team in the playoffs past all these sustained quarterbacks that have been in the league for 3+ years. It was just must watch.
Yes.
And it's still must watch.
It is. I absolutely love it. I guess one of the more, predictable games was the Ravens beat the Texans 25-9. Dobbins is out for the season with a torn Achilles. Lamar Jackson, though, I'm looking at that stat line, not that impressive week 1.
No, definitely against the Texans, not very impressive.
And I feel like I'm going to end up saying that a lot as we run down this score, or this score sheet. Falcons beat the Panthers 24-10. Riddler 15 for 18, 115 and a touchdown. That not earth shattering, but it'll win you some games. Especially with mid to low tier teams. That'll win.
Yeah.
The next game I never saw coming.
Oh no.
The Browns stun, and I love that word stun. The Bengals 24-3. Joe Burrow went 14 for 31 and had 82 yards. While on the other side, Deshaun Watson went 16 for 29, 154, 1 touchdown. Now, he did have an interception, but I did not see 82 yards on Joe Burrow's stat line.
No. And
Joe Burrow had somewhere around 3 points in fantasy this week.
That's bad. Being a franchise quarterback, I'd be really upset.
Very bad.
I'd be really upset if I had him in fantasy, and if the Bengals, I'm really frustrated if I'm a Bengals higher up owner, coach, GM. I'm very upset with Burrow after that showing.
That was
not good.
Dreadful.
Yeah.
Washington rallies past Arizona 20-16. Howell with 19 for 31, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Reese, I thought
Yeah.
Washington -7 was an absolute lock.
Well, you thought wrong.
An absolute lock. And it should have been.
It should have been.
On paper, it should have been.
Yeah.
But we don't play these games on paper.
Nope.
Because
Why we play the game.
Exactly. Because of this next game, the Buccaneers and the Vikings. Tampa Bay comes up with that 20-17 win. Baker Mayfield led that team, 21 of 34, 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, on paper, the better quarterback. 33 for 44, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he does have an interception, which Baker Mayfield does not. But pretty much double the yards. Same amount of touchdowns, better completion percentage. He did have an interception, which, counts a little bit against him. Solid performance by Kirk Cousins, but the Vikings just can't get it.
No, they can't get it done.
The crazy thing is, Kirk Cousins, like all of the offense, has solid stat lines.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling to me to see, the scoreboard and then to look at the stats because they don't line up, in my opinion.
Right.
It's just crazy to see that the Vikings do this well on paper, but just find ways to lose games.
Yeah, it just reminds me of a couple college teams that dominate on offense, but can't score. Like, they can't score any points. Like, they'll have the ball most of the game, but they can't score points. And that reminds me of the Vikings on Sunday.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Moving on down the line, we got the Jaguars beating the Colts 31-21. It was a close game for a majority of the game. Made me sweat a little bit on my pick'em pick. Richardson went 24 of 37, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 passing touchdown, I should say, 1 interception, and he also had a rushing touchdown. So Richardson, I think he's a solid choice for the Colts, and I do have my eye on him moving forward. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. The Saints hold on to beat the Titans 16-15. Derek Carr went 23 of 33, 305 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now the Packers, man, they beat the Bears 38-20. Jordan Love, baby, 15 for 27, 245, and 3 touchdowns. But honestly, dude, Jordan Love, great stat line, love it. I think the MVP actually goes to Aaron Jones that game.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones had a stellar game.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I think that's the formula. I think what we saw this week is what we should see every week. Because that was a solid offensive performance by the Packers. All the way around. Running game was great. Jordan Love was great when, Jordan Love was great in and poised, in the pocket. When things were going good, when he was being protected, he was doing good, poised and just going through his motions. But also when things weren't going good, like a breakdown in protection or, the low snap that was fumbled and then bounced right back into his hands. He took that, got reset, scanned the field, found the open tight end, and made a great, read and a great throw in an open field. And it was, stuff like that makes me optimistic about the future of this offense.
Yeah, he definitely had a great first game. And I think all that all that poise in the pocket came from sitting behind a certain someone for a year or two, and now he just finds himself as the starter, and he just comes out and does what he trains or does what he practices, and saw what he's capable of. But I don't know if he can keep it up. He'll have to keep proving as he goes along.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a promising start.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And it was kind of tough, though, because I don't think the Bears are as bad as what they showed this past week. I don't think that the Bears are as bad. And so, it's kind of a, take it with a grain of salt kind of measurement, because I don't think the Bears are as bad as they showed. So we'll have to see, if the Packers are truly that good. And if the Bears are truly that bad, it's just time will tell, I guess. The Raiders beat the Broncos 17-16. Russell Wilson went 27 for 34, 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dolphins beat the Chargers 36-34. Tua and Tyreek were an unstoppable duo.
Oh man, that game just kept on delivering back and forth.
Oh, it was
back and forth.
It was absolutely nuts. Tua went 28 for 45, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but they won 36-34. Rams beat the Seahawks 30-13. Stafford went 24 of 38 for 334. Excuse me. Eagles beat the Patriots 25-20. Mac Jones went 35 for 54, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Oh boy, Sunday Night Football, man. The Cowboys just destroyed the Giants 40-0. Dak Prescott, the stat line's not great, but he didn't really need to be on the field. 13 for 24, 143. He did not play the entire game. Not due to injury, but due to the fact that they were just beating the team so bad that they put the backups in. The Cowboys had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. And Reese, I want to share something with you, okay?
All
that
right.
I found super interesting. The Giants broke records, Reese, on that game. Okay. No team has ever lost 40-0 or worse. Lost the sack battle -7 or worse. Lost the turnover battle -3 or worse. Had a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown and threw a pick 6 in the same season. Okay, no team has ever combined all of those things into one season. The Giants had all of that happen to them in that one game. The Giants had all of that negative stuff happen in one game that previously none of that had happened to a team all at once in a single season.
Well, at least that went for them. They made some history on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Bad history, but yet history nonetheless, yes. It was... Honestly, I watched that game in its entirety for 2 reasons. One was that I just couldn't believe that the Giants would be this bad. I show up, I guess not show up, really.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking at some point that the Giants would find it, would wake up and do something. So I watched the whole game waiting for it, and it just never happened. And The second reason was that, it's Sunday Night Football. There's nothing else on.
Right. Yeah.
You want to know something, Reese? In terms of fantasy, the Dallas Cowboys defense scored 35 fantasy points.
Wow.
That is more than a lot of the quarterbacks did this week.
Yes. Yeah.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling. I can't believe that.
And Dak didn't even play the whole game.
Yeah.
They were beating the Giants so bad that Cooper Rush finished the game.
I mean, yeah.
Dak's not even injured. It's just they were beating the team so bad.
I mean, if that's what's working for you, just put the defense out there and let them go to work. Like, who needs a quarterback in this?
Right.
Game?
And then 2 nights ago, we had Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
The premiere of Aaron Rodgers as a Jet ran out of the tunnel. Electric fan base. The Bills went 3-and-out to open the game. Standing ovation for Aaron Rodgers as he enters the game. 4 plays in, Aaron Rodgers goes down. The stadium goes quiet. Zach Wilson enters the game. The stadium is still quiet as they, try to see what's happening on the sidelines. Aaron Rodgers leaves the game on a cart. Stadium is devastated. News coming out yesterday. Aaron Rodgers out for season. He had suffered a torn Achilles in that game. You would think that the Jets were done in that game, and honestly in the season. We still have yet to see what the season holds, but the Jets...
Sorry to cut you off, but the injury to Rodgers definitely, one, sucked the life out of the stadium for sure. And 2, it could mean that his Jets career is over before it really even started. And it could mean the torn Achilles could mean that he's done. Like, he might not come back after this. And that just sucks. Because he really didn't even start his career with the Jets. That has a lot of people just devastated. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And now the crazy thing is with the whole thing, the Jets did rally to beat the Bills in overtime, 22-16. Josh Allen, not very impressive, 29 for 41, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Not what you expect from Josh Allen, but which is, I guess, this sliver of hope of the Jets because their defense was stellar that game. The crazy thing is, the Jets did all of this for Aaron Rodgers. They got him, obviously. They got pretty much everybody on Rodgers' wish list. They built the whole offense around it. They pretty much mortgaged this season on him, and got rid of Mike White, made Zach Wilson sit behind him, and don't have a third quarterback in their roster. Right. And Rodgers is now out for the season, and now they're scrambling to find a backup.
Right, and this Rodgers injury has sparked like a new debate over the sports world and the football world that they should eliminate turf and make every stadium real grass, so this thing happens less often. But I don't know if that would even solve this problem. I don't know. Like, what would you do? Like, would you take away turf and make every every stadium real grass, but I would think that, you know, stadiums have other sports that need turf. But I don't know
I would argue
what do
the
you think?
opposite because do you know what they did for the World Cup?
I don't know.
They're making everybody use real grass.
Hmm.
And so why? If artificial turf is so good, why is FIFA, and everybody, as part of the bid to get the World Cup, why did they pledge to go with real grass?
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't. I think there is artificial turf that is good. The problem is, most of the stadiums with artificial turf don't have the type of artificial turf that is good. The actual simulated blades of grass, because the way artificial turf is that they're tiny. Like it looks a little bit like Velcro. It's tiny. It's loops, and the cleats get caught in the loops. And so I think that you know pro sports, the pro football's onto something. I mean, why? Same argument. Like, why do no other sports have artificial turf? Some soccer has artificial turf, but most sports have grass, like real grass.
Right. Yeah.
You don't see an MLB stadium with turf.
No.
You don't see European leagues have turf. It's all grass. So I think there's something to be said for that. And I think that, most of these non-contact injuries have come from turf. Not all, but most. Because if you look at the slow-mo, nobody hit Rodgers that way. Rodgers was going down and it popped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It may have still happened on a grass field, but the issue is just all of the injuries combined. Like more knees have gotten hurt because of artificial turf and all the. There's something to be said. There's got to be a deeper dive by the NFL. But we'll see how that pans out. Week 2 kicks off tomorrow with Thursday Night Football, Vikings at Eagles. The noon slate on Sunday has the Packers at Falcons, Bears at Bucks, Colts at Texans, Seahawks at Lions, Chargers at Titans, Ravens at Bengals, Raiders at Bills, Chiefs at Jaguars. The 3 o'clock slate has 49ers at Rams, Giants at Arizona, Jets at Cowboys, Commanders at Broncos. Sunday Night Football has Dolphins at Patriots. Monday Night Football, you've got your choice of Browns at Steelers or Saints at Panthers. And so looking at all these games, Reese, you and I have me and my roommate John have a pick'em league, where we pick a team to win, and then we can't use them again for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Last week, I picked the Jaguars to win. John picked the Raiders to win, and you picked the Seahawks to win. Me and John got our picks right, and you didn't.
I did not, because I did not see the Rams beating Seattle at all.
I honestly didn't either, but I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy week. So this week, I think the Lions will beat the Seahawks. I'm riding that Lions train.
Mm-hmm.
John is picking the Jags. Very bold move.
Oh, wow. Yes, against the Chiefs. Ooh.
Yep. And who do you got, Reese?
I selected the Denver Broncos. They lost by one, but they play the Washington Commanders this week, so at home. So I'm believing in in Russ.
Broncos country ride.
That's right. Oh yeah, me and Peyton Manning are on the same page.
Right. And b- we'll end the show with a little bit of fantasy here. Reese, going from week one, I did win my matchup. Week one matchup, and I got week two coming up. Just to run you down my roster, I've got Josh Allen and Geno Smith at quarterback, Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, Devin Singletary, and Chuba Hubbard as my running backs. Amari Cooper, George Pickens, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Adam Thielen as my wide receivers. TJ Hawkinson and Sam Laporta as tight ends. I have the Browns and the Steelers defense. And I have Harrison Butker and Jason Myers as my kickers. With that being said, I still like Josh Allen as my QB1. I think that he just had a bad week. Aaron Jones is still questionable, so I think I'll keep him in and kind of gamble there.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Akers did okay. Chuba Hubbard did have a better showing last week, but I guess Cam Akers is facing San Francisco and Chuba is facing New Orleans, so I may switch that. What do you think on that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I think if you play Akers against the 49ers, the Rams will probably most likely be down in that game. They'll probably have to throw the ball a little more. So maybe you go Hubbard this week.
And I think Scantling didn't really get targeted much in the Chiefs game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to put Laporta in my flex instead of Scantling.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Like at home against the Seahawks, he should get some targets. That's for sure.
And well, I'm gonna switch my defense to the Browns instead of the Steelers because the Browns defense did surprise me in a good way.
Yeah, definitely above and beyond. Holding Burrow to 82 yards. That's something.
We'll see how this matchup plays out, and we will keep you updated with everything going on in the world of sports. But for Reese, I am Devin. You've been listening to Sportsball Roundup Radio. Have a wonderful day.